Speaker. It gives me great pleasure to stand and rise to speak to this third reading. And I have to say that I haven't been impressed at all by the contribution of the Labor opposition for a couple of reasons. Firstly, they seemed to have focused most, if not all, of their debate and contribution to the debate on process. And I guess that's probably because 94% of the submissions actually supported this bill. And so instead of bringing some rigour to the actual bill itself, they're left to swallow in the misery of process for which they are the past masters. We've had every speaker that I've heard on that side stand up and lecture this House about democracy. Now, can you believe that? To give this House and the people of New Zealand a lesson on democracy simply because the Law and Order Committee felt that it was actually best that the Corrections Department were the appropriately nominated advisers to this bill. And here we have the very party that rammed through this House, rammed against the overwhelming populace of New Zealanders, the Electoral Finance Act. How dare they lecture us on democracy? How dare they lecture this House? How dare they lecture the people of New Zealand on democracy? They've got no grounds to tell us anything. So that's the first point I want to make. The second point I'd like to say is that I hear my erstwhile friend Honi Harawira and his contribution, and the fact that it was, I think, a heartfelt contribution to the debate, and I understand his side of it. But the truth of the matter is that, in fact, when you look at the statistics, 70% of inmates have, in fact, had 10 or more convictions before they go to prison for the first time. And, in fact, 70% of those that have been to prison reoffend within 2 years of their release, and 86% reoffend within 5 years of their release. So while I hear the argument for, in fact, the carrots to encourage and to develop, we have to be mindful of the facts. And the reality is that, in fact, that people are given chances but do not take them. And so, Mr. Chairman, we are turned to this Act, and the ultimate sanction is that there are 41 crimes that now constitute serious criminal offending, and which will in fact mean the 3 strikes for that colloquialism. And they fall under about 4 or 5 main headings: sexual violation, murder, manslaughter, use of firearm against law enforcement officer, kidnapping and aggravated robbery. And if the opposition want to say in this House that these are not serious crimes against community, against society, then they don't deserve to be in the opposition. Because when you consider these crimes and the variations thereof against the fact that 70% of prisoners that go to prison, in fact, have committed at least 10 crimes before they go to prison for the first time, then I think the reality is that they deserve to, in fact, leave their seats and bring someone else in. So with those few words, Mr. Speaker, it gives me great pleasure to support the third reading of this outstanding bill. Thank you.
Call Chris Hipchins.